My name is Travis Ross. I'm the one of the public health sanitarian supervisors here in the Office of Food Safety, and I'm going to be giving a presentation specifically on the changes to the cottage food program. All right, so changes to the cottage food program. So the cottage food program was like at least originally when it was created back in 2011, it was referred to as the home baked and confectionery goods program. So this did allow individuals that did register with the program to make non-potentially hazardous food items. So think, cookies, cakes with very particular types of frosting, and then, breads, brownies, things of that nature. So something that would not need to be kept at a certain temperature to be considered safe. So the final product is shelf stable and it's packed with enough sugar to where it would be considered non-potentially hazardous. And then between 2011 and 2018, there was a name change, and then in 2018 there was an amendment to the law that did allow for jams, jellies, and dry mixes to be added to the approved food list. And then it did get changed to the cottage food program. So at least when this was implemented, the jams and jellies, it was very particular types of jams and jellies. We were going off of FDA guidance. They actually did some studies based off of fruit and sugar content, by weight, and the final product would be considered non-potentially hazardous. So as long as individuals did follow at least those recipes, would be allowed to make those. And then, like I did say, with cakes with very particular frostings, we did have we had the ability to have certain food items tested. And when I say that, I do kind of mean more of frostings and icings and things of that nature, where an individual could be using potentially hazardous food items in their frosting that isn't baked, such as, like a cake or a cookie. They use, milk or, you know, milk, cream cheese, something of that nature, and that product would be considered potentially hazardous, but they would be able to. Okay. But if geez, sorry, lost my train of thought. Oh, they could have their product tested, so they could send it to a food safety lab. On our website, we have the U of A food safety lab that does testing for various food items, and we would always tell individuals that you need to have your product tested for water activity and pH. And if it met the parameters to be considered non-potentially hazardous, then they would be allowed to use that frosting and icing. But that documentation would need to be provided to us. But then now in current day, in 2024, there was a bill that went through the House, and it was voted on and it was passed, that greatly expands what is allowed under the cottage food program. So the way that it was, say, like a year ago, there was a basically a laundry list of items that you would not be allowed to make. We would always get the question of, can I have a full expansive list of what is allowed to be made under the cottage food program? And we would have to tell individuals we can't really give that because recipes change, and different people use different items. So it was really just you can't use anything that has these features. So if it's potentially hazardous, if it does need to be kept under refrigeration to be considered safe, then you would not be allowed to use it. But with this amendment in 2024, it does greatly expand it to where really it is, the list of what is not allowed is a lot shorter than now what is allowed. So the bill that I'm talking about is HB 2042. That was actually introduced earlier this year in January. It wasn't the first year that a food freedom bill of this nature was proposed in Arizona. Some of you might be aware of last year, there was one that made it through the House and the Senate, and it was actually vetoed at the last stage, and then it wasn't able to get the majority votes to actually then override the veto. So it did not pass last year, but then this year it did pass with overwhelming support. both House, Senate, and outside partners. So this was coined as the tamale bill or a food freedom bill. So, but what it does is it mainly expands the definition of a cottage food product. So it expands it to where it used to say that a cottage food product is a food item that is not potentially hazardous. Whereas now the definition, and it can be a little bit confusing. It states that a cottage food product is a food item that is not potentially hazardous, is potentially hazardous, cannot contain fish, shellfish, alcoholic beverages, unpasteurized milk, and marijuana products. And then at the end of that definition, it does say that unless it is allowed by federal law. So this is something that the team is actually actively working on, trying to get some clarity on that. But the way that we understand it is that a cottage food product is and is not potentially hazardous, and then it just cannot contain fish, shellfish, alcoholic beverages, unpasteurized milk, and marijuana. Oh, I apologize. In that definition, a little bit of the confusion is it also does state meat and poultry byproducts. But then right below that, it does list some exemptions, and it does list those sections in the CFRs, the Code of Federal Regulations. So the way that we understand it is that meat and poultry are allowed, while all of those other food items are not allowed. But that is something that we are, as an office, as a team, we are working on getting some further clarity on that. So the cottage food program, there was a lot that did change, but there was also a lot that did stay the same. So the things that did stay the same is that individuals are still they are still required to get registered with the program. So we do have an application online where individuals can go online. We do ask for some general information, the food items that they are making, and then we are having them review and sign an attestation that basically just states that they know what the statute says and that they are going to follow the statute. With that, then they do get a very specific cottage food number. So currently now, because we did switch systems, it does start with CF. There are some legacy cottage food registrants that do just have a number, but if they became a registrant when we did change the system, it will now start with a CF. The registration date, so the date that it was issued, will be on their certificate as well, and their food handler expiration date. So we do require all registrants to still have is an active food handler certificate that was laid out in the statute, not the food manager certificate, like some would maybe desire when it comes to, the high risk foods, but in statute, it does require all registrants to have an active food handler certificate, and the expiration date is put on the certificate. And it is still a requirement that if they're selling anywhere other than their home, they do need to post this in an obvious and conspicuous place so that individuals can see that they are registered. On our website as well, on the homepage for the cottage food program, there is a link to a list of all active cottage food registrants. We are currently working on getting that updated to be live, so it will get updated in real time as statuses change, as individuals add to their menu and all that. But this is something that we are updating on a weekly basis. It will have the registrant's name, their business name, if they do have one, their cottage food registration number, their status. So that was something that changed in the statute, is that registrations are now allowed to be revoked and suspended by the department. So the status of their registration will be on that list as well, and then all of the food items that they are making. So and then when it does come to the actual food item itself, it is still required to be made, packaged, and labeled in the home kitchen. And then this is just an example of what a label can look like. It is required to have the date that the product was made, the food registrant's name and their registration number, a list of all the ingredients, and we have had some comments and all that being made that, what does all ingredients mean? The way we take it is that it needs to have all of the ingredients, whether that is, if you're putting Oreo cookies in, you need to put in all the ingredients for those Oreo cookies, and so on and so forth. This exact statement, so this product was produced in a home kitchen that may come in contact with common food allergens and pet allergens, and is not subject to public health inspection. This was actually a statement that was put in the statute. We have had some comments come our way that some individuals do not have pets, and it's kind of putting out a precedent that cottage food kitchens are maybe not the safest places. That's not the understanding of us. This was a statute, or this was a statement that was put in the statute that is required to be on all labeled packages that come from a cottage food registrant. And it's really just the main idea behind this is that if someone is buying a food item, they just need to understand and know what they're buying. It's not stating that they shouldn't buy it or whatever. It's just more of this is a cottage food product. Just understand what you are buying. And then there is a statement also that was put in that it is in statute, if it is applicable, that this product was made in facility by individuals with developmental disabilities. So that is a requirement as well. And then one of the newer requirements is a link to the AZDHS website. So this link will take you to the cottage food homepage. So it goes over the program. That's where the list can be found as well. And that's where individuals can file a complaint and let us know if they believe that they got sick or have sick from a cottage food product, or if they do want to file just a general complaint. So what has changed? So like I did say a little bit earlier, the laundry list of items that is not allowed has really shrunk to now just a few small items that are now not allowed. So with the statute, it really wasn't it was not concerned about the I guess the process that the product takes or anything like that. Really, it was only looking at what ingredients are being allowed. So like I did say a little bit earlier, the way that the program understands the statute and the stance that we are taking is that cottage food items is not they're not allowed to have fish, shellfish, unpasteurized milk, alcoholic beverages, or marijuana. But if they do not have any of those items in there, then they would be allowed to be made under the cottage food program. So meat, poultry, dairy products, and then one of the items that we would always get asked about a lot is just various drinks. They can be a little bit tricky because, again, at the end of the day, they do still need to follow all of the program rules. So producing, packaging, and labeling in the home kitchen, but now drinks such as lemonade and coffee are allowed. So what is still not allowed, like I did say, fish, shellfish, unpasteurized milk, alcoholic beverages, and marijuana are still not allowed. Fish and shellfish was just pointed out in the statute as not being allowed. Unpasteurized milk, we do still point individuals to the direction of the different departments if they do have something that like say if they license certain items. So unpasteurized milk is still regulated by the Arizona Department of Agriculture. Alcoholic beverages, depending on where they do want to sell, they would potentially need to go to AZ Liquor. And then marijuana, they would need to go to ADHS, but they would need to go to special licensing first, because if they do want to work with marijuana in any commercial aspect, they do need to get a marijuana license from special licensing first. So applying for the program, there was some changes that were made back in May that did change a little bit about how you go about applying for the program. So it does look a little bit different, but the general questions are still the same. So you can go to our homepage, and then on the far left, there will be a program registration site or tab. It will take you to this top picture, the big red button that says register for the program. It will actually take you now to an external site. It is My Health Department. So individuals do need to make an account with My Health Department before they can actually fill out the application. We do have instructions on our website as well. If individuals are having trouble with registering for an account, and then we do ask them to fill out the application. So, like I did say a little bit earlier, so we do ask if they have been previously registered. If they have been, let us know what your cottage food number is, and then that can actually stay the same. And then we do ask for, their name, their phone number, email, their home address, their food items, and then they do need to go through an attestation and agree to all the points in that, basically just stating that they understand and they will follow what is in statute. All right. And then as of today, we currently have 8,467 active cottage food registrants. And then we have 298 approved TCS. So it's just a different status that so we can keep track of who is doing what. So as of right now, we have 298 approved cottage food registrants to do some kind of TCS food item under the cottage food program. So thank you for your time. You do have my contact information, so my name, my email, but then we also have the cottage food email also. So if you do have any questions or concerns or anything like that about the cottage food program, feel free to reach out to us, and we can hopefully, assist you with all that. So, but that is it. All right. So I believe I took about the entire time up, but I can go through some of these pretty quick. So our specialized food processes allowed, such as beef, jerky, and ROP. So short answer is yes, just because in statute it only specifies the food item itself, not so much the process. So it is one of those things, we do understand the high risk of those items, but what is in statute and what we have to follow as what is put in law is that yes, it is allowed. Will winter visitors be allowed to use his or her RV? So that is something that we actually did put in our rules that is currently going through the draft process, is that it does need to be a stationary dwelling. So RVs, particularly recreational vehicles, are not allowed. All right. Can you let us know where to find the list of cottage food participants? Yeah, so if you do go to azdhs.gov and slash cottage food, at the very top there will be some call boxes. And one of those it'll be labeled active registrants as of and then a date. All right. So I do apologize. I am over a minute, so we will need to go further. But if you do want to put your comments or questions in chat during the next presentation, I will go through and I will answer those. So.